Hello everybody, Mr. Pace. I want to thank you and apologize for the last video, and I want to start off this video with an opening statement because I like opening statements. Mrs. Pitsy has been running this district in front and behind the scenes for the last 8 to 10 years. And because she's a sellout to the developers and still communicating with one of them, I want to let you know that somewhere along the line someone has to understand that the district is now concealing records because they don't want the information in my hands. They have had their lawyer threaten me with harassment, restraining orders, and just about everything else. I want to let you know that Jan Pitsy is BFFs with Lisa Marie Peterson. Now, in posts on this website, we're not even going to bother to answer this anymore. It's just not worth it. Everybody that knows, everybody that was there, everybody that was involved in the meetings, involved in the hearings, involved in all that stuff, all of that stuff is documented. I do want to clarify some things, and let's start doing that. First and foremost, Mrs. Pitsy says there is nothing wrong with what Woodland Hills did. That's not true. I'm trying to push the DOJ to open up an investigation for double dipping and filing a false claim with the bankruptcy court. I'm not going to get into particulars of it. They've asked me not to. These are the documents, about 80 pages worth of stuff. I can tell you that the county has refunded me my money for the claim, and then the documents here clearly show that Woodland Hills has again made the claim, the second claim, which was now only claim left, to collect money, and that amount of money is wrong. I know this because we have our payment history. We did not file our bankruptcy 2 months later. It was more like a week or maybe even a couple of days. The first certification, as shown in these documents, shows that Woodland Hills basically tried to blame the county for certification when they were the ones that sent the stuff to them based on a letter from William Lewis, the old attorney, and a meeting they had on the 17th. I can't get into it, but these documents are going to be posted on my website, which will clearly disprove everything that Mrs. Pitsy has made a claim to in her comment. Mrs. Pitsy, you're just nothing, there's no words. Everybody knows you run the district and are afraid of you and your husband and Josh Killett. They're afraid because they don't want to get beat up. I'm not afraid. Sorry. Can't do that. Now, to Dan May, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the Department of Labor, we have a hostile work environment here and some serious workplace harassment going on. Mrs. Pitsy, you're involved in it. The statements I got last night from Bliss and Gonzalez were really clear. You just don't know when to quit. And the people here are afraid of losing their jobs, so they'll do anything you want them to do, including Mrs. Peterson, who quite frankly knew all of her friends were going through this and the employees were going through it and did what? Nothing. This board doesn't know how to punish anybody for doing anything wrong. If I was an elected official and Mrs. Peterson did what she did to somebody else, what do you think I would have done? That's the difference between me and the moralist board and the board of rogue people that you currently have. They don't care what she does. We don't have records you say we have. You're going to have to show a forensic thing or a path that was explained to me that those emails meant to us. They did not. Mr. Bendelow, you don't frighten me. I'm working on filing a lawsuit. I just don't know how to do it. I don't want to get it tossed on a motion 12B. Let's move on. Okay? So it's coming. You'll just have to excuse me if I don't have your expertise in being an attorney. The client's already got caught in a lie once. What do you think? They're going to tell you the truth every time? I'm glad your name's attached to all of this because, quite frankly, I think that you know that I know that they didn't send those documents because you made it clear. If I gave you money, you went, no. All they had to do was hit the resend button and resend the documentation and quote, your statement was, you're not going to make them do it. And a lot of people who are leaving messages on my website that people can't see are absolutely ticked. It's over 150 now. That's 150 signatures. What's going on here and what I learned about Mr. Cozzolino is he had had enough with Mrs. Pitsy's micromanaging, Mr. Pitsy's bullying with this recorder situation, and when Lynn and Frank left, he had no more support. He had no other choice. He had to cut and run. That's it. Just didn't have a choice. He stayed as long as he could, and then when it got to be too much, with the issue over the remodels, the money, and the stuff going on with the board, couldn't do it no more. Workplace harassment. And guess what? This is the employment agreement. Mr. Cozzolino can't open his mouth. Can't go for help, and he can't tell anybody. Because the only people he can tell is the board. And Mrs. Peterson knew exactly what was going on and sat there and let it happen. Was part of it. Okay? 2 directors from a couple years back, several employees from last year, 2 board directors this year, and 2 more district directors. They just keep adding up. I wonder if the people that financed all this stuff knew what was going on, what they would think. Sooner or later, you know, with this website and all the hits I'm getting, someone's gonna find out. And it's not all Shangri-La. Mr. Cozzolino, you should have gone to the Department of Labor and filed a complaint about what was going on, and we would have backed you up, and you should have known better. Regardless of our personal opinion of each other, I know what's right, I know what's wrong, and I know what was happening. And your friend, Lisa Peterson, did nothing because she needs that 6-figure job and that almost $400,000 house and the prominence in the community. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, Mrs. Peterson. All this stuff happened to all these people. You call them friends? That's why Lynn and Frank are so disappointed in you, because you did what they thought of you was something different. Now what they know of you is something different. This is a resignation letter that was left in an envelope for me. I don't know if I can't authenticate it, but I'm going to read it. Over the past 2 months, I have acted as the utility director for Woodman Hills District. During that time, I have had many conversations with Mr. Killett and Mr. Porter about their expectations of me and how they wish me to be involved in the day-to-day operations of the utility department. Quite frankly, your desired level of involvement is not something I'm accustomed to. While I fully welcome your participation and willingness to learn, I strongly believe that we each have our job to do in order to accomplish the task before the district manager must trust the board and the board must trust the manager. There must be a common vision by both parties. Unfortunately, that is not the case. You micromanaged him right out the freaking door. That ain't all I know. I got confirmation from another source and sources that you, Mr. Killett, had attended meetings with Mr. McGrady and you brought a tape recorder with you. That's not what you're here to do. And apparently Porter did the same thing. That's not all. From what I understand, and I haven't confirmed it, but I'm going to go with the third-party sources because they came and talked to me. Apparently you do all these tape recordings and give them to other board members so you don't have to have official meetings. That's not above board either. Porter, Killett, Pitsy. Ever since you guys hit the board together as a group, I found out that in November, everything started to fall apart. Tell me I'm wrong. I got that right from the horse's mouth last night at the meeting. Now, Mr. Cole, go ahead and just, do what you gotta do. But you're not gonna be able to put out this fire. Now, I'm gonna give you some information you didn't know. I obtained a document that I know that emanated, or basically started from a certain place. That document's now in the hands of people investigating what it is. It's a horrendous document. And that document was supposed to be used against me. I'm going to find out the origins of that document. Okay? That's all I'm going to tell you at this time. What happened to Mr. McGrady, what happened to Gene Cozzolino, what happened to the prior directors, what happened to Mr. McNally, the other employee, the employees that have gone, is that they all have a common thread. Mrs. Pitsy micromanaged them, Killett micromanaged them, Porter micromanaged them, and you all had a hand in it. Everybody knows that you run the show, Jan. Now, recall, well, why don't you just wait to see what happens. But now with this information, Dan May, U.S. Attorney, and the Department of Labor are now going to be advised that this is what's going on. Mrs. Peterson, I told you in the beginning who you were dealing with. You didn't believe me. You got into bed with them. Now you can't get out. Okay? This board, regardless of whether you like me or not, know that this bankruptcy thing is a case of double dipping. There's all the documents. There's enough evidence here. As the attorney I spoke with talked to me about, there's more than enough evidence here to open up an investigation with the DOJ. Mrs. Peterson, they've let you get away with everything, no matter what it is, and this board backs you up. In this agreement, it says if you break any rules or policies or violate anything, including the law, it's subject to termination. So here's what I'm telling the board. You have made it clear that no matter what the employees of this district do to me, it's okay. It's not okay with me. It's not okay with the other recall committee members either. Because you have singled me out and proven that no matter what the cost, you guys will continue to attack me. Mr. McGrady, Mr. Cozzolino, Mr. McNally, the other two directors, the other employees, I am doing my best to get you the help that you deserve and to out what's going on here, because it has to come out now. And other people are now paying attention. I'm going to do my best to fix this for you. You deserve nothing less. And Mr. Cozzolino, 719-217-0891, or wait for a call from the Department of Labor, because I'm going to file a complaint on your behalf, because I now know what happened. Between Mr. Pitsy and Mrs. Pitsy, the micromanaging and everything else, Jan, enough's enough. Oh, and to answer your question, when you said, oh, I don't know what you're up to, you're right, I didn't, but now I do. Everybody, thanks for coming by. Now, do I seem that unreasonable? Yeah, I didn't think so. Thanks.